Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 10th summit. Personally, this is my first summit, and I joined MetricStream during the pandemic. So it's good to connect with all of you, our customers, our partners, and analysts, and our own employees together here. It's a great pleasure to have you all. You heard Gaurav talk about reimagine, and other panelists talking about risk and risk management, how to mitigate and manage those risks. And then I took a quote from Joe Martinez that really stuck with me, which is, nothing is really ever done in this space, in this GRC space. With that as a backdrop, we're going to give you a view on our platform and the products and all the new exciting things we've been working on and behind the scenes and bringing those to the market in front of you. And that's what I'm here, along with Joy, who heads up our R&D, our research and development team, and Raghu, who heads up all of our product management and our product innovations team. We have a fantastic team here behind these two gentlemen and at MetricStream, and that's what we are here to showcase right now. Oh, sorry. So these are the releases we have done over the last 18 months when we embarked on this true SaaS journey. We started with Arno, followed that up with Brazos earlier last year, and then subsequently we delivered Colorado and Danube, and recently last month we have released Euphrates. Obviously, as you noticed, we are naming our releases, platform and product releases, after the rivers, the largest and the most famous rivers, and an alphabetical order. And some of the work that you see that is coming through, for example, in Euphrates, which is really transformational for us and for GRC, the seeds of that have been planted in Colorado. And then subsequently we build, as you all know, with technology, you have to replace that tech stack, evolve that tech stack, and keep building that foundation and bring the fruits of that, right, through the next version of the release. So some of those seeds for Euphrates were planted back in Colorado, if you will, and it's a long journey for us. It's really transformational, which we're going to cover. Moving on to the next slide here. This is the connected GRC aspects that we talked about and Gaurav spoke about, and the connectedness. I joined MetricStream almost 2 years ago, as I said. Prior to that, I spent close to 28 years in the financial services industry, broker-dealers, and a major bank before joining, and literally on Wall Street, and half of that time. I can tell you from my own experience how disparate and siloed the products and systems can be in these large organizations, right? And the connectedness of GRC really breaks down those silos and brings together the risk and compliance events and the challenges that you are facing, and addressing those through the products and through the technology solutions, from the front line to the second line and the third line and even the fourth line, that is being the regulators these days, right? With respect to the regulatory reporting you have to do and all those aspects. You really don't need disparate and legacy siloed systems, right, when you're dealing with these complex areas. And that's the journey MetricStream undertook years ago. And as a customer, we actually learned a lot from MetricStream when we are evaluating MetricStream. I must say that, I will acknowledge that. And we use MetricStream as products for internally, as well as we built on top of that as well, obviously, to integrate into a large organization. Those are the three business lines, if you will. So over the last 18 months, again, we really simplified our product offerings and rebranded, refreshed into three product lines: Business GRC, Cyber GRC, and ES GRC. And all those products are built on top of the platform. The platform is the power of what MetricStream really offers. We are not a point solution. We are an integrated risk management product company built on top of this platform. The features of the platform are listed below, if you will, in that slide. It starts with a federated data model, that's where all the data elements are brought together across all the risk and compliance stripes. And then on top of that is the GRC libraries and the objects we have built, mastered, perfected over the last 10 or so years. Those are the GRC objects. And to seamlessly integrate this platform and the product, we have released APIs. Like for example, in Euphrates, we have released 200 plus APIs. And before that, those are what we refer to as BAPI, Business API Frameworks. And before that, we have, we had the APIs as part of the platform, as part of configuring the platform as well. In all, there, I would say, over 300 plus APIs that are readily available out of the box, when you look at MetricStream today. And then 18 months ago or so, we have introduced, working very closely with Gavin, the risk quantification engine we have introduced. And then when Raghu joined, we brought that together with our AI recommendation engine. And we are offering that as part of our platform called MetricStream Intelligence. That is also available out of the box, and the products truly leverage those. So the workflows of the past are not, they're really transformed into we have infused AI into those workflows, in the sense that when you're let's say, identifying an issue, when you're in risk management, the AI recommendation engine, as long as it's trained, well-trained, and what have you, it can actually recommend how to identify or classify that issue, how to triage that issue, and what kind of mitigation actions you need to take on that issue, based on the history of the learnings of your own organization. And now we are taking that beyond, where I don't want to steal thunder of Raghu, but I'll let him cover the collaborative learning that we have introduced now. And next to that is the low-code, no-code platform that we have released as part of Euphrates. It's a major transformational journey for us. I would say over 100 man or person years of development has gone into building that low-code, no-code platform, which Joy is going to cover. And then we have really, to bring all these insights across all these risk and compliance stripes, really leveraging the power of the federated data model, the GRC objects that we have built. We have now created data universes that can pull all these facts, results, and intelligence across and give you the connected GRC insights, if you will. Those have been released as well in Euphrates. Our first release, we have a lot more to go in that journey. Again, nothing is ever done as we are going through this journey. And those are some of the things we have delivered, and we continue to deliver these innovations. And I'm going to have, next slide. I'm going to have Joy and Raghu cover some of the product aspects, but going into the business GRC, just to give you a glimpse, the risk management, ERM, ORM functions, the regulatory compliance, reg change management, regulatory management, all of those are bundled together as business GRC to simplify those offerings. And cyber GRC is where our products help you in protecting your organization against IT and cyber risk, and those are offered through cyber GRC. It mainly comprises of IT compliance, IT risk. And lastly, because of the power of the platform, we have built out the first versions of ESGRC flat out in 4 months. And we started that journey a year ago, and now we have developed more features of ESGRC. And to cater to mid-markets, we have also released Cyber Prime recently. It's out-of-the-box solution with the functionality that is needed to support the mid-markets. And likewise, an ESG Prime offering is also in the works that will come out in the next 6 weeks or so. So that's the journey we have been on. This is a connected GRC journey. And to go into some of the aspects of what these products are, I'll ask Raghu to speak those.
Sure. Thank you, Prasad. All right. Hey, folks. This is Raghu Srinivas. I head up product management and innovations at MetricStream. Now, as I was coming up here, I really love the quote from Joe. So thank you, Joe. And I'm glad it stuck with my boss. He says, nothing is ever fully done in this business. Great. As a product manager, when people come to me and say, hey, why is this feature not there in the product? I have something to say. But all kidding apart. So folks, now, like what Prasad said, right? So we have, in the last 18 months, made 5 releases. And in these 5 releases, we've had about 70 distinct features, 70 features, right, across the 3 product lines and the platform. Now, obviously, I'd like to talk about all of these like my firstborn, but my events team has given me all of 14 minutes to cover my session, all right? So they even have a placard that says time up. I know they made it just for me. We have a booth set up outside. As you can see, we are very eager and very proud of our features. I do welcome you guys to go check out the booth, check out our features post the session, or during the break, rather. Now, for the rest of these slides, I'm going to stick to the key highlights across the 3 product lines. The first one being Business GRC, which looks to empower your risk, compliance, and audit users. Now, we do realize flexible risk assessments are very key to organizations, especially large enterprises, to be able to identify risks and action on them. Now, it is in this context that we've introduced the concept of simplified risk assessment that empowers the frontline business users to evaluate risks, evaluate lurking risks, perform risk assessments, control tests, and hand it over to the second line of defense or the risk owners for a more thorough analysis. Now, we believe with this, right, we are able to extend the risk awareness to the boundaries of the organization. Now, moving on. Now, we are in, a GRC tech. So I'll be honest, we love regulations, right? But even for us, keeping track of regulations, keeping track of what we have to abide to and what changes have happened is an onerous task. Now, it's in this context that we made significant investments in this area of regulatory change management and regulatory inventory consolidation. Now, you'll see, right, with our features, we are actually gradually but surely coming up as the centralized marketplace where you have access to regulatory inventory across several content providers. We've had partnerships with Cube, integrations with Compliance AI, Thomson Reuters, and we have a few more planned in the coming releases. Now, as you can see this, right, this becomes core for organizations to keep track of changing regulatory needs across different continents, different jurisdictions, what have you. We, in fact, have a session with Cube later today where we get into the details of our integration with Cube and the joint solution. Now, of course, right, so once these regulations are in place, what do organizations have to do to comply with the regulations? So that adds to the mix this whole compliance risk assessment methodology. Again, that's an area where we made significant investments in the last 5 releases to incorporate things such as control testing or policy updates, linking them to the regulatory changes, so on and so forth. Now, another area of investment for us in the recent past has been in operational resilience, which is to enable organizations to identify their critical business services, being able to plan for any risk events, outages, and also be able to recover from this. Now, we have another session planned for it tomorrow to go into the details of what we have to offer in operational resilience. So that's on the business GRC side of the house. All right. Now, the next product line I'll talk about here is Cyber GRC. And Cyber GRC looks to empower the CISOs and the cyber side of the house. It enables companies to perform their IT risk assessments and also ensure that they are compliant with the regulations on the IT side, standards and regulations rather. So, given the ever-changing threat landscape, it is important for us to be agile. And Agile enable that agility even for our end users, right? So they can first get value out of the system from the get-go. So we've included features around Cyber Prime that Prasad just alluded to, where we've significantly worked to reduce the deployment time for the product. So companies can start deploying and start using our products in a matter of a few weeks. We preloaded the product with content best practice processes to ensure all of this is smooth for customers. Now, we've also, in the context of cyber risk, provided enhanced dashboards and reporting. Again, the whole idea there is for the CISOs to know exactly what their cyber exposure looks like and all of these are up to the minute or up to the date, if you will. So that's where we've integrated with several other systems, the asset management systems, we've integrated with ticketing systems, integrated with vulnerability scanners to get all of this information aggregated into one place. The next feature I want to talk about, highlight really quick, is continuous control monitoring, and this was mentioned quite a few times just this morning, right? So the ability to look at some of these redundant controls and see how we can automate the testing of these controls. Now, this has a few advantages. One is, yes, it removes redundancy, and it also ensures that the companies are always compliant, right? Especially with respect to a few standards like PCI or HIPAA. Now, there is again a session tomorrow where we go into the details of what we do here in continuous control monitoring. And so one other topic that I do want to quickly mention, which got covered quite a few times here, is risk quantification, which is the ability to talk about cyber risk in one single term, right? And that term could be a dollar value, or it could be whatever is a metric that is most suitable for that organization. Now, doing so, again, brings to bear all the connectedness of what we have to offer, where you talk about risk not in terms of the traditional low, medium, high risks, but talk about it in terms of a dollar value. And having a dollar value attached, again, has its advantages, right? One is the companies can decide what they want to do with it. Maybe they want to transfer the risk by more insurance, or put in place some projects and see what the projects cost to enhance or strengthen the controls and do cost-benefit analysis on these. So these are some advantages on risk quantification. Again, there are quite a few sessions planned on that later today. So moving on, folks. So if I ask you folks this, right, so what is that one existential crisis that we all face today and our future generations face? I have no doubts you'll say climate risk, right? Now, yes, climate risk is a big issue that we'll have to deal with, and organizations and enterprises have a big role to play in here as well. Yeah, granted, there are a lot of guidelines, regulations, and standards that are out there that help companies report out where they stand from their ESG standpoint. But we want to go beyond that, right? So that's not, like somebody mentioned earlier, it's not just about ticking the box. It's about organically imbibing these concepts of ESG practices into the existing processes. See, that's where our product stands out. So we are proud to claim that we have brought GRC into ESG. And you'll see a session about it tomorrow where we go in detail about what we have to offer in the space. So yes, we ensure that companies are able to use our tools to disclose their ESG standing, to do data collection, metric collection, what have you. But we go beyond that for companies to also attach the ESG concepts to the existing business processes and perform risk and control assessments with an ESG angle. So that's with respect to ESG. So moving on, MetricStream intelligence. So folks, I like to play this game, right? So when I'm in all these tech summits and sessions, I play this game, what I call as a buzzword bingo. And in the last 3 to 5 years, there are a couple of buzzwords that you'd have heard in most of these tech sessions. Anybody, any guesses? AI and machine learning, right? So you hear this a lot. Now we are rooted in Silicon Valley. Yes, we are a global tech company. Of course, we'll talk about AI, right? But for us, we do AI with purpose. And like Prasad said, the purpose is around GRC. So we are not ML or we're not AI, but we are MI, which is MetricStream intelligence. Now, over the last 14 odd years, we kind of got the best practice GRC workflows down, right? Our products actually have all of them manifesting in there. Now we are looking at opportunities to see what patterns there are among these, among the data that we collect, the data we see, and how we can bring to bear these latest and greatest technologies to address the GRC challenges. And when we looked at it across the life cycle of GRC, which is from risk identification to risk treatment to monitoring and reporting, there are several opportunities for including AI-related workflows. Now we have a session tomorrow, my favorite session, where we talk about this in more depth. Now, having said all of this, folks, so all the great products and the features that we talked about would not be possible without a solid platform. Now for that, I do welcome my partner in crime, the super technical, the very joyful Joy Bomik.
Thank you, Raghu. Thank you, Raghu. So I've been warned to not to talk about technology, but I'll try my best to do that. So in this low-code, no-code, this is another buzzword in the industry today, where often you'll hear this, our platform is low-code, no-code compliant. And what does it mean to GRC? So we're very proud to announce that we have come out with a domain-specific language, which is specific to GRC. It is our innovation. It is a GRC domain-specific language, which allows you to define the business logic in a very English-like way, right? Rather than writing in JavaScript or in PL SQL. So as the world is evolving towards more richer user experience, UX, and actually CX, customer experience, right? So we have prepared ourselves to move towards a more enhanced low-code, no-code platform, which allows us to define this English-like business logic, which can be defined by all of you. You don't need to be a techie guy understanding how to write JavaScript, but this is an interface which allows the end users to actually define the business rules, which one can verify, one can read. Right? On top of that, often we talk about workflows, but I actually refer them as business processes. These business processes also has logic, and you do transitions in workflows. So before you do the transitions and after you have done with the transition, there's some processing which needs to happen, right? So we came up with a construct called Emery. Now this is all based on this abstraction of Java code, if you will. Again, it's a business-like interface where you can define how you want to process what data before you do a transition of a business process and after you do the transition of business process. So that is how we are terming this as a low-code compliant. That gives you the power not only to control the business logic in the UX, user experience, but also to control the business processes and define the business processes, right, within our platform itself. Now, this is not just a theory, but we have adopted that into our product. So what has happened is we have actually constructed that in a platform, and our product lines, which you saw, which Raghu presented a few minutes back, all these 3 product lines are actually already adopted that in this release. So it's basically, which is our product developers are using the same construct as you would like to use, right? And that gives us the confidence that it works, because you can have the best and the most best technology, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't make any sense, right? So now on top of that, why do we say no code, right? What is this no code business, right? Low code we understand now that you can do an English-like interface and you can define that logic. So no code refers to each of these user interfaces you today have and the business processes you have, right? You can actually abstract that into it's a construct called API, Application Programming Interface. We call it business API because it's all business related. All of this construct is abstracted out, giving you a neater interface, which we call as a BAPI framework, through which you can actually interact within our product lines and outside the products, if you will. So if you have third-party systems or products, or if you have your own local systems, you want to interact with that data, right? We will use that same construct, the BAPI framework, to do that. The same business processes, same business logic, which has been coded in domain-specific language, will be actually reused when you're coming from outside in to actually call those APIs. On top of that, we know the world is evolving towards not data capture anymore, and we'll come to that a little bit later. So we have a very powerful way of exchanging data between the systems, and we call it simplified data upload, where you have a bulk of data. If you're doing a system migration, you want to import that into MetricStream, or you want to extract it out. Typically, you will do that during the one-time onboarding, but then later on, as you actually start expanding your horizon in terms of usage, you'll be bringing more and more data in. Again, the same business logic, the same validation logic, it will actually get invoked as you actually do a bulk upload. By the way, the whole magic to this is it's completely upgrade safe, which would mean every line of code you have written, not in PL SQL, not in JavaScript, but in the domain-specific language, which we are very proud of, right, is completely upgrade safe. So the moment you do an upgrade, you go to the next version of it, you don't have to touch your code. In fact, you don't have to test your code. That's our guarantee, right? So moving on, when we talk about connecting the outside world in and out, right? So we do understand that there are a lot of point solutions in the market, right? So for example, we are not going to be ever competing in vulnerability scanning. We don't want to be in that business, right? We know there are point solutions which does it well, but it's a very critical information for us. To consume that into our world, we need connectors. And also we believe that likewise there would be other platforms, other products where we have to actually interface into supplying data. So these powerful APIs, which is 200 plus, actually within products and within platform, we have 400 plus APIs, which we use internally, but 200 is actually externally published, right? Which you can use to interoperate with your local platform or any of the products. Again, these connectors are coming out of the box. You know, the APIs are coming out of the box. It is completely upgrade safe. Now, we often talk about connected GRC. I just want to take you through a little bit of a journey. In 1970s, 1980s, when you're starting to store your data, bless you, a lot of data is basically stored in a hierarchical format, in flat files. Then came the relational world, right? We are very proud of relational world. But relational world is only two dimensions, tables and rows, right? And the relation is hard-coded. What do we mean by hard-coded? When you're designing a system, you are saying this is how my tables are and this is how my tables are related, right? The world has moved on, right? So next came the graph, which is basically, okay, now we can dynamically create your relations on the fly based on the data you're consuming, right? But we didn't stop there. We went to one step further. Well, we are bringing the data, but we are also bringing the context. The moment you bring the data with the context, which humans are, by nature, we actually treat or look at data with context always, not without context, it doesn't make any sense. So context modeling is also happening in MetricStream, where we bring in this, what we call as the ontology, where we have objects, we have the relationships, we bring in the external data, dynamically we are creating the relationships on the fly. It is not hard-coded, right, which is very important. And then on top of that, you have layers to actually interpret that, the semantics of the data. So what does it mean? How is the world connected? And present that through powerful insights. This is what we mean by connected GRC. Business GRC, cyber GRC, ES GRC, everything is connected at the end of the day. It is not a silo, right? And that is how we are treating this connected GRC world. On top of that, we call it as early warnings, or we call it powerful insights. The system will prompt you what you should be looking at. Does the event happen? Election results are going to come out tomorrow in US. How does it impact your ecosystem, right? If you have to go and define that manually, I think those days are over. More importantly, the way to collect the data has evolved from UX to actually have sensors in the field. Each of you, right, all the humans, all the machines are supplying that data, generating the data, and bringing that into the ecosystem, connecting them dynamically, and providing insight on top of it with what we provide as a platform. So that is what we mean by connected GRC. So that's an example here. We know that there are different personas who are interacting with the system. But a compliance officer doesn't have to be restricted into a compliance space. One can actually talk about cyber in context with compliance. That's what we mean by breaking the silos and bringing the connections together. So we understand in organizations you operate, and sometimes you tend to operate in silos. But the way you manage the risk as a risk officer is actually at a much higher level, where you really have to see, well, what is my risk? Let me quantify the risk. Let me see how we can mitigate the risk. And more importantly, take risk on risk, right? Thrive on risk, which is basically, if you try to mitigate every risk, your company is going to only do risk management and nothing else, and spending dollars on that. So you all also are willing to take some amount of risk which will generate revenue, right? I know time is short. So basically, what do I mean by mobile? So we have each of this interface or each of the applications or product lines we have, the user interface, not only we have it on the web, but we also have a similar experience on the mobile. Now we also understand that every UX doesn't have to be on mobile. So we have been extremely careful in terms of how and when we expand our mobile presence. But this is what we mean by connected GRC. You have a device, a mobile device, you can be in the field, you can go offline, you can start actually capturing data, and then once you become online, the data comes to the platform itself and we start processing. That's how our mobile devices work, right? At the same time, we also believe that the mobile interface is very powerful because of the fact that, it is, if you look at your organization, every user or every employee of your organization needs to have a capability to report as a first line, say for example, risk. And it's very easy for one to actually type out that issue or risk if you want to capture that using the device. So all of the APIs we talked about and the experience we are talking about, right? As I said, that actually the users can start, end users can actually start coding it, right? We have created a whole portal, which we call a developer portal, where you can go in, you can actually log in, and you can get documentation of all of that to an extent that you can actually start playing with the platform, right? Again, we are evolving on this, right? And we will be adding more and more stuff to it. But the whole idea is when we say 200 APIs are available, we mean it. And each of the definition of that is actually available in the portal itself. So with that, I'll hand it over to Prasad.
Yep. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Raghu. Hopefully you got a glimpse of what we are doing, what we are innovating at MetricStream as part of our platform and bringing that out through our products. And I'm sure we are over time. We are usually over time, product and technology folks here. Happy to take any questions here if there is time, or we are available here today and tomorrow to answer any of your questions or queries. Thank you.